Welcome to my channel. Today, I'm going to tell you the top 5 school facts you didn't learn in school. And these are going to blow your mind. Now, if you really want to get shocked, keep on watching until the end of the video. So without further ado, let's get started. Number 1. The modern school system was designed to kill creativity. Now, I know that sounds like a bold statement to make, especially if you actually enjoy school. But hear me out. You see, when most people think of their school days, they remember playing on the monkey bars, making friends, having crushes, or maybe being bullied. But did you ever really stop and think about the actual structure of school? Like, why does school have to be a building you go to every day? Why can't you just learn from home instead? Why are there so many rules? Why does everyone have to study the same thing at the same time? Why are teachers allowed to punish you for asking questions? If you look into the history of schools, you will find out that the modern school system wasn't designed to teach kids and bring out their creativity. It was modeled after Prussian military education. The objective was to produce obedient soldiers and factory workers, because back in the 1800s, that's exactly what the world needed. Germany needed disciplined citizens who knew how to follow orders. So schools started to become more like boot camps, where students were taught to obey authority figures without question, where creativity and individualism were suppressed. Because if you can't think for yourself and do what you're told, then you'll be an ideal worker at the factory. This is why the entire school day is structured around obedience and punishments. You get good grades by obeying the teacher and doing what you're told, and bad grades for not listening and not fitting in. The teacher is like the drill sergeant, and the bell is the whistle. When it blows, you jump. Now, I'm not saying that all schools are run like boot camps and all teachers are evil, but the system itself is modeled after something that was built for soldiers, not students. Number 2, the bell system is psychological conditioning. Now, this might sound like another conspiracy theory, but stay with me here. What's the purpose of the bell? Does it help you learn? Well, no. All it does is tell you when you need to move from one place to another. But wouldn't it be easier if you just used a watch or a phone? Well, yes, but that's not the point. The school bell is designed to train you to move on command. Just like Pavlov's dog experiment, Russian physiologist Ivan Pavlov rang a bell before feeding his dogs. After repeating this over and over again, the dogs started to associate the bell with food. They would start salivating just by hearing the bell. In school, the bell replaces food. For example, when you hear the bell ring, you automatically line up and leave the classroom. You don't think about it, you just do it. Or when you hear the bell during class, you instantly stop talking and start paying attention to the teacher. You don't even realize what's happening. And all of this is thanks to the school bell, which is basically psychological torture. Number 3. Grades were invented by a man who believed only 1 in 100 students was truly smart. Now, I know we've all been through report card season, so this fact is sure to piss you off. But trust me, it's true. You see, grades were invented by a man named William Farish. He was an English education reformer who lived during the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century. At the time, education was super expensive, and only the rich could afford it. So he started the first ever graded school system. His goal was to make education cheap, so that rich kids would stop monopolizing it. But while trying to make education more accessible, he also made it way more unfair. You see, Farish created the first ever letter grades, and here's how he determined what each grade meant. If a student didn't know any facts, they were given an F, meaning feeble-minded. Then E was for inferior, D for deficient, C was for average, B was for good, and A was for very good. Now, what do you notice about these descriptions? Every single one of them is negative, except for very good. That's because Farish believed that every student should aim to be punished less. And the only students worthy of praise were those who performed better than everyone else. He literally said that only 1 student out of every 100 had the mental capacity to master academic subjects. So to Farish, if you weren't getting straight A's, then you were mentally challenged, and that's the mentality that we still have today. If you don't get good grades, then you must not be smart enough. Now, I know that every country and school district has different grading scales, but no matter what scale you use, the principle is the same. Good students get rewarded and bad students get punished. And it all goes back to Farish and his belief that 99% of students were too stupid to learn. If you're enjoying this video, then please hit the like button and subscribe. If you don't, then I'll personally come to your house and, okay, just kidding. But please hit the like button and subscribe. Alright, now moving on to fact number 4. Your desk could be ruining your brain. Okay, so picture this. You're sitting at your desk in school. It's 3:30 in the afternoon and you're exhausted. You've been sitting in this position for 8 hours and all you want to do is go home and sleep. But you have to power through and finish this math worksheet. You're so close to being done, just a couple more problems, and then you can finally relax. But the longer you sit there struggling to focus, the harder it becomes. And you start to wonder, is it worth it? Am I actually going to learn anything from this? And then you get an idea. Why don't I stand up and stretch for a bit? You get up from your seat and you feel immediately re-energized. You go back to your desk and bam, problem solved. Now, if you're thinking that's just a coincidence, then you'd be wrong. Science has actually proven that standing up and stretching increases productivity. In fact, researchers from the University of Texas conducted an experiment where they monitored students while they were studying. They found that sitting for long periods of time actually shrinks the hippocampus, the part of the brain that helps with memory. But if you stand up and move around for 5 minutes, then you boost blood flow to the brain and increase productivity. Unfortunately, schools are designed to keep you sitting and quiet, and if you try to move around, then you get sent to the principal's office. But here's the crazy part. Sitting in a desk all day was considered a punishment back in the 19th century. So schools adopted this method to punish students and keep them in line. And now on to the 5th and final fact. The curriculum you're learning was mostly decided over 100 years ago. Now, I know that might sound unbelievable, but most of the curriculum taught in schools today was decided over 100 years ago. For example, school hours. Why do we start at 8 a.m. and finish at 3 p.m.? Why do we have 6 to 7 hour school days? And why do we only go to school for 9 months out of the year? Well, all of these rules were established in the 1800s when the average life expectancy was 40 years old. Back then, kids had to start working in the fields at age 12, so they only had time to go to school for 4 hours a day. Plus, factories only operated during the summer, so that became summer vacation. Everything from school hours to the subjects you learn to the length of a school year. It's all based on outdated ideas from the 1800s. And the worst part is that science has already disproven many of these ideas. For example, studies have shown that teaching kids outside is better for their development, but schools still force them inside. Or starting school at 8 a.m. is worse for your brain. But schools still force kids to wake up early, and it all goes back to the Industrial Revolution. Now, if you want to know more, then check out this video next. Thanks for watching, please subscribe, and goodbye.